A 1, 2, 3, 4. Once upon a time there was an engineer, drove a locomotive both far and near, accompanied by a monkey who sat on a stool, watching everything the engineer would do. One day the engineer wanted a bite to eat. He left the monkey sitting on the driver's seat. The monkey pulled the throttle, locomotive jumped the gun and did 90 miles an hour down the main line run. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. The engineer called up the dispatcher on the phone to tell him all about his locomotive was gone. Get on the wire, switch operator to right, cause the monkey's got the main line sewed up tight. Switch operator got the message on time, said there's an northbound living on the same main line. Open up the switch, I'm gonna let him through the hole, cause the monkey's got the locomotive under control. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. Yeah. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. Yes, left the engineer with a worry in mind. Hello everybody, we're going to be studying Monkey and the Engineer. I learned this from the Grateful Dead's album Reckoning. In the lesson, we're going to go over several different ways to play this. I'm going to show you how to play it with open chords in a very simple way. I'm also going to show you how to use bar chords and not use as complicated a rhythms as I did. And then I'm going to show you how I think about it when I am playing the more complicated rhythms, which is really not a lot of thinking and more about feeling and reacting. Then I'm going to go over how to play the intro and show you exactly what I'm doing on the guitar here, and maybe do a little lesson on how you could practice that. Then I'm going to go over how I think about soloing with this. I will explain to you how I'm thinking about what I do. Remember, the most important thing is to have fun. So have fun with your guitar and enjoy learning Monkey and the Engineer. The first thing we want to do with Monkey and the Engineer is do the simplest thing possible on the guitar. We're going to play a simple version using open chords on the guitar and boom chuck strums as usual with these country bluegrass type tunes. It's a great way to strum. Alright, so you're going to need to be able to play the chord G or G major. I have my second finger on a G, first finger on the B or second fret 5th string, third finger on the D on the second string, and pinky on that G, 3rd fret on the 1st string. So we have a G major. If you know another version of G, it will also work. We're going to do C major. So 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 5th string, 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 4th string, 1st finger, 1st fret, 2nd string, strumming these 5 notes. And sometimes I will probably do alternating bass with this. Alright, and now a D major. We're going to have our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. That's a D major. And finally A7. We're going to have our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string and our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Strumming the 5 strings again. Now with the boom chuck strum, we're just going to be strumming down on the bottom of the chord and then down on the top of the chord for each beat. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to get used to that strum pattern because it's really useful. You can also do little upstrokes to create the swing feel sometimes if you want. Okay, now we've gone over the stroke, we've gone over the chords. Let me go through the tune. I'm going to go through the first verse and the chorus one time at a nice slow tempo to give you something to play along with and something to listen to. So when you're practicing at home, you know in a rough way what it could or probably should sort of sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once upon a time there was an engineer, drove a locomotive both far and near, accompanied by a monkey who sat on a stool, watching everything the engineer would do. One day the engineer wanted a bite to eat, left the monkey sitting on the driver's seat. Lucky pulled the lever, locomotive jumped the gun and did 90 miles an hour down the main line run. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. Ba, ba, da, 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 da. The next thing that we're going to cover is playing a simple version of this tune with bar chords without a lot of complicated rhythms. That way it's easier to follow. Because of the version that I recorded, I kind of followed the melody and did some syncopations with the rhythms. This is going to be straightforward. It's going to be all quarter notes, similar to how gypsy jazz guitar is taught in the beginning. You're going to need to be able to play a G major bar chord, which is the E-shaped bar chord. You have the E major here. You're going to move that shape up to your pinky and fourth finger on the 5th fret, second finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, third finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, pinky on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and your bar is across the 3rd fret. That's the G major chord. You're going to also need to be able to do the C major bar chord. It would look like this if you're going to play it with your 1st finger, 3rd finger, and 4th finger like this. But I don't do that. I put my 1st finger here on the 3rd fret and my pinky over these 3 and use my 3rd finger to kind of push down on the pinky, so I've got a little extra power there. That's how I play that chord. And I mute this top E with my 1st finger, and this high A that would be played, I don't hit that. Just the middle 4 strings, keeping the sound of that C chord nice and crunchy and rhythmic, percussive. All right, so the next chord is going to be an A dominant 7. We're going to have our 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string, 1st finger on the 4th fret of the 5th string, 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and pinky on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. That's an A, a C sharp, a G, and a C sharp. That A dominant 7, I mute these higher strings that could be open. They do not get the opportunity to play. So if I want to strum all the way through the guitar and get a nice percussive sound, I can. The next chord is going to be a D dominant 7. We have a D here on the 5th fret of the 5th string with our 3rd finger, an F sharp with our 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string, a C natural with our pinky on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and a D natural with our 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Again, I only hit the middle 4 strings. I try to keep this 6th string muted with the tip of my 3rd finger, and the 1st string is muted with the underside of my 1st finger. That way I can get a nice crunchy percussive sound. Now I'm going to go through the tune again. The strums are going to be all quarter notes. Like that. The way you keep your hand from being worn out from playing for 4 or 5 minutes with bar chords is I only press down with my left hand when I hit the chord. I'm only applying pressure when it's needed. Otherwise, my hand would get very worn out and the chords would sound like this. There's there's no percussive, danceable element. Makes it more danceable, gives the rhythm a little bit more focus and a little bit more feel. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the tune, just through the verse and the chorus one time with simple rhythms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once upon a time there was an engineer, drove a locomotive both far and near, accompanied by a monkey who sat on a stool, watching everything the engineer would do. One day the engineer wanted a bite to eat, left the monkey sitting on the driver's seat. The monkey pulled the throttle, locomotive jumped the gun, and did 90 miles an hour down the main line run. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. Be sure to check out the PDF. It will help you to follow along. Have fun. To demonstrate how I play the rhythm on this particular tune, I'm going to have to take the tempo back up to the original tempo that I played it. There is some like upstrokes that I'm doing, and I like adding a longer strum notes when there's a melody note that I want to kind of accent that particular note, like maybe in the intro where you have like a 1, 2, 3. Be sure to use YouTube to slow it down if you need to be able to really kind of see what's going on. Also, be sure to use the PDF that's available to help follow along and know when the chord changes are actually happening. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Once upon a time there was an engineer, drove a locomotive both far and near, accompanied by a monkey who sat on a stool, watching everything the engineer would do. One day the engineer wanted a bite to eat, left the monkey sitting on the driver's seat. Monkey pulled the lever, locomotive jumped the gun, and did 90 miles an hour down the main line run. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down the line. Big locomotive number 99 left the engineer with a worry in mind. Remember, the left hand is, pumping as I go through and do these rhythms. I'm not holding it down the whole time and doing that. You just sound ridiculous. You've got to... You got to pump to be able to get the guitar, kind of have that sort of staccato and tenuto. I don't know what the word is, but short and long notes in the left hand pumping gives you that rhythmic feel. Have fun. Okay, now so let's work on the intro. There's a couple things you need to understand as we get into this. I have written in dots over the notes. Those are the notes that should be staccato or short. Also, I view this intro as two separate musical statements. The first musical statement ends on what we're seeing in the printout as measure 3. The first musical statement ends on beat 3 in measure 3 on the printout. That note is a staccato note. However, when I'm playing or just practicing this particular phrase, it is kind of difficult to get that note to be staccato, because when I enter the next phrase is when I mute the strings. So I'll give you an example without the metronome of that first phrase and what it sounds like without the second one. Okay, you got those open notes in there because when I play the second phrase, my hand comes into mute. you don't hear the open strings for long enough for it to register really as a unpleasant thing to hear when you put the two phrases together. So we're going to work on the phrase 1 and phrase 2. We're going to do it 100 beats per minute on the metronome. I'll do phrase 1, 2 to 4 times, phrase 2, 2 to 4 times, then put them together at 100. Then we'll bump up the metronome. We'll get it up to the performance tempo of 170 eventually. All right, so let's do the phrase at 100 BPM on the metronome. I'll count 1 dead measure and then the measure that we're going to play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's the first phrase. We got those open strings because we aren't into the second phrase yet. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, remember that first note is staccato. That's why it sounds so short. This is a quarter note. It's just played short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right. Now let's get into the second phrase. We have a B flat. On the and of 3 in measure 3. So I'll count 1 dead measure, then the measure that we're going to start on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I literally slid into that B in the recording, but you can not slide into it and it sounds great. Let's do that this time. 1 dead measure coming in on the end of 3 of the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, one more time with this phrase, then we'll put them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now let's put the two phrases together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, my hand came in to mute those open strings so that we don't get the unpleasantness of those two notes ringing together. Again, putting the two phrases together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We'll do it 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's bump the metronome up some. All right, I put the metronome at 120. We're going to do phrase 1. Remember, those open strings are going to ring out because we aren't there to mute it when we start the next phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, again with phrase 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again with phrase 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's do phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again with phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time with phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. right, now let's put the two phrases together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's bump the metronome up, another 20 clicks. Now we're at 140. This is probably getting into the range of what I would consider to be performance tempo in the sense that it feels good, you know? All right, here we go. Phrase 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's do phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, now you can slide into that B or not. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time with phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's put the two phrases together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's bump up the metronome one more time to 170. All right, now we're at 170. This is the performance tempo that I chose to do the piece. You can choose to do it at whatever tempo you want. Here we go. Phrase 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now let's do phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now again with phrase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now let's put the phrases together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So working with the metronome, I went from 100 to 120 to 140 to 170. Those are big jumps. You may have to go up the metronome at smaller increments. Most of the time when I'm really trying to internalize and learn something, I go up at least by 10s, if not by 5s. So instead, I would have gone 100 to 110 to 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Maybe even gone past to 180 and 190 to try to get it even faster than I need to play it so that when I go back to the performance tempo, it feels comfortable. So the metronome helps me to acquire the skills that I need with good strategic practice. The metronome is such a great tool. I hope that you use it at home and make the most of your strategy with the metronome. Have fun. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to walk through the concepts that I'm using in the solo, what I'm doing musically and how I'm thinking as the solo progresses. So the first lick is something along those lines. Okay, so the thing that I'm hearing there that I hear a lot in my playing is that Mama's little baby loves shortening, Mama's little baby loves shortening bread. Yeah. It's very simple in my mind how I'm thinking. I'm just merely playing the G major blues scale pretty much over the G and the C. Okay, I'm not really trying to think C as much when I'm playing. When you hear the progression go, you know, from the A to the D7, I recognize that as something that's really important harmonically. So I try to outline that. I have a lick that's like, you know, something like that. You know, it hits that D. I really focus on trying to resolve to that. Now, when I am thinking I'm going to resolve to D, I will think in the context of a D major blues for this particular tune. You know, with a nice little flatted seventh in there, that C natural, you know, sounds nice. From A7 to D, you've got a nice way of resolving with that blues scale. So that's pretty much, you can see me doing that when it goes back through the progression again. I hit a up here as well, the same kind of lick just up here on the guitar so that I can begin to access some of these higher notes. And I'm still thinking mostly just G major blues and D major blues the entire time. Okay, I like the way that sounds, that blues sound really fits well with this kind of music. Enjoy what you're playing. Realize that the concepts that we're using, the major blues, for G major blues and D major blues are easy, they're accessible on the instrument, and you can get those things, slow something down and learn to improvise with those scales, and you can be as good a painter as I am for sure. I have provided a video after this little announcement of just me playing the solos, so you can watch it while it's fresh in your mind, the things that I talked about, using the blues scale, resolving to D when it came, and I also resolved to G when G came back around in the progression. Have fun. Left the engineer with a worry in mind. Yeah. Big locomotive right on time, big locomotive rolling down. Hello everyone, and thank you for participating in this lesson. If you found it to be helpful, please leave a comment below and let me know, because it sure makes me feel good to know that these videos are helping people. You could also subscribe or like the video. More importantly, the comment really makes my heart feel good to know that what I'm doing is helping other people. I hope you guys have a great day, and feel free to contact me if you want. I teach online as well as in person. I can do lessons via Zoom or FaceTime or Facebook Messenger. My email is bobby@thehallsofmusic.com or bobhallguitar@gmail.com, or through the Halls of Music on Facebook or our website, thehallsofmusic.com. Plenty of places to get in touch with me. Hope you have a great day. Bye. Left the engineer with a worry in mind. Yes, left the engineer with a worry in mind.